Nice clap. Hi, Tanatsei.
Hi, Tomiwa. How are you?
I'm fine. You?
Fine, thank you.
How have you been?
It's surviving. Last week of school, pushing through. I've got this.
Cool. Thank you very much for agreeing to speak to me and share about your project.
You're welcome.
Do you want to just start by telling us about yourself and what you're doing at ALA?
Okay, I'm 19. I'm a second year at ALA. I am a residential assistant for Keza Hall, and I'm also an Africa Careers Network peer coach. I tutor literature, and I also work for the Parents Engagement Association.
Nice.
Do you want to know about my subjects?
Oof, no, that's
No?
fine.
Okay.
It's a long resume that we could discuss. So can you tell us about the project you did before ALA?
Okay, so it's called the 25 May Movement. It's an organization that I started in 2016, and it focuses on using creative arts for social change in Africa. So we've been operational, obviously, where I come from in Zimbabwe. We've been holding workshops and events about, how do we harness our creative talents in order to perform social good. I've continued the project whilst I'm here at ALA. Obviously, it's slightly more difficult because I have, all these other things happening here. But slowly but surely, we are forward moving.
Nice. So I hear this about bringing the creative side of things and using that to do social good. And my question for you then is what motivated you to do this? What inspired you to even start thinking about this?
I think for me, creative arts are a means of creating an identity for yourself that you have full ownership of. So that isn't, about institution, or it isn't about your background or your family. It's completely for yourself and what you create for yourself. And I was involved in a lot of creative arts. I was dancing from as long as I can remember, acting, and I dabbled in visual arts as well. And I found that it was in these spaces that I could best understand myself and synthesize my own identity. And it's this identity that then allows me to navigate the space or understand myself as a Black African woman, for example. So it's something that's passionate. It's a passion of mine. It's something that I'm passionate about, and so that means that this project made sense for me to do because it was things I understood, it was things I did, and it's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I'm definitely aligned with you. Art as a medium.
Yeah.
What would you say was particularly hard about the 25 May movement? What was hard in doing this, and what's been something hard about this?
I think it's ongoing, and I don't think it's going to get easier. I think in general, creative arts are viewed as secondary in importance or priority at many levels, at national level, at institutional level, at individual level. They're always seen as a luxury or as something that's, not urgent, especially when it comes to the conversation about development in Africa. They're seen as, that's not anything we need. And my biggest challenge has been convincing people of, how urgent the use of creative arts and the power of understanding culture through art is. I'm actually working on a research project now for my creativity research class that's exploring the origins of this stigma, where did this come from? And it's very interesting to find that although there are things that existed in pre-colonial Africa that perpetuated these things, I think we see that in colonial Africa, because of the need to industrialize and to capitalize, building communities and societies wasn't seen as important, and that's what creative arts do. Anyway, huge tangent. But I think that's been my biggest challenge, convincing people that this is something that matters.
And I think that's actually quite interesting. And now you say you're doing a research about it. I guess, what does that mean for the future of 25 May movement? What does that mean in terms of how you plan to scale and then even keep growing in the next few years?
I really want the 25 May movement to be involved in academic discourse about society and about arts, the intersection of society, culture, and arts, because these are things that I think are interdependent. And me doing this research project is kind of that first step for the 25 May movement of like entering an intellectual space and bringing art at the front of academic discourse. I really want us to be people that, create new ways of thought, new schools of thoughts, new understandings of life, new understandings of art through research, through academic methods. And that's why this creativity research project is important. I think, it's a big first step for myself and also for the movement.
Oh, that's quite interesting. And I like how you definitely see how this can keep growing and keep moving. I guess the question is, I know there are many dimensions to Tanatsei. So beyond 25 May movement, in terms of for you personally, what do you see yourself doing, I guess, let's just say in the future, going forward, what are your
beyond 25 May movement? I see myself being involved in a lot of gender-based work. I am a feminist in my definition of feminism, because feminism has many different understandings, and that's understandable. It's a global issue, and having to define it in a localized way specific to Harare, Zimbabwe, Africa is difficult when you have also a definition from New York City in the United States. So that's why I say according to my definition. So I see myself being involved in gender activism, gender work, empowerment of women and girls, and especially highlighting why gender equality, why this movement for gender equality and for feminism is so vital for men as well. I think it's easy to tell a single story about which genders are affected by patriarchy. And it's very obvious and very apparent that women and non-gender conforming people are most affected. But I think to also acknowledge just the sinister effect that patriarchy has on men themselves is important. And I think that's something I want to focus my work on beyond the project.
Yeah, I think that's very exciting. I think you're finding a new dimension to yourself, and I think it might be even maybe more interesting how you might even maybe integrate art into that and make it even more exciting for yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's something I've started doing already. I use art. I'm a poet, and I've published a lot of my work. And if you read it, you will find that I speak about these issues because they are most apparent in my life, and I would say in the lives of many Africans all over the world. So I think art is a relevant medium to discuss these things and to explore them, especially film. I've been watching a lot of films made by women or made for women, and just the power of the creative industry is so potent. I hope it's apparent to everyone.
So from your experience, what is that one thing that you think is really necessary to be able to do something meaningful and impactful? Because not every teenager out there started 25 May movements.
Yeah.
What do you think it takes to really do something meaningful and impactful and worthwhile, I guess?
I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's a myriad of different things, but I would say the two most important ones are, first, and this is a cliche, I think people have said this 100 times, passion. You need to have a spiritual calling, or a drawing towards this thing that you are interested in or passionate about. It can't be something that you think, this might be interesting, let me dip my feet in that. It has to be something that moves you on a level that transcends the superficial. And so through that, one can assume that it's also something you know a little bit about, or something you have a skill in. So passion and skill to me go hand in hand. And then the second thing I would say is most important is grit. I think grit is kind of this.
I love that word.
Yeah, it's this stubborn tenacity, a stubborn commitment that you make to yourself and to others, that you're going to do what you want and get what you want at any and all costs, despite challenges. In the face of the biggest challenges, I think grit is the one trait or characteristic that I don't think many people possess. but the one that I think really makes the difference between someone who can achieve or initiate impact and someone who has an idea and is passionate and sits with the idea.
Yeah, I like that. I think you've mentioned passion and grit, which are very important. I think most people can more understand the idea of passion, but maybe you might want to explain grit a bit further, because it seems like it's like this kind of blind determination. Like, what would you say about
it's almost intangible. It's difficult to describe. It's just, I don't know. I think that's why I like the word stubborn. It's just it's this feeling that doesn't go away, that you really want what you have your eyes on, and you were going to work for it. It involves discipline. You discipline yourself to get what you want. It involves determination, and it involves like a personal dedication and commitment to that. So yeah, I would say determination, dedication, and I said one more thing, I forgot.
passion?
No, it was 3 Ds: determination, dedication, and something. But anyway, those 3 things that I mentioned before are the stuff.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tanatsei. I really wish you good luck at like combining art with like your interest in feminism and gender equality and that whole space, and like good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, Tamiwa, and you too.
Thank you, Tanatsei.